Come together, come together, come together, come together.
Ah, it's amazing how well that song goes with our talk today. Reverend Maggie and myself have been navigating in this allness, in this oneness, in this knowing that our wisdom is our domain. And this brought to mind this, I remember as a child in Apollo 11 heading towards the moon. And we're all focused on getting to the moon. But what we did not realize was that vision that would come to us of what we look like, what the earth looks like in the velvet vastness of space, this beautiful round globe. No borders, no division, all one in this place where we are here together. And so this is the temperature we're headed toward because we're all in this together. And certainly the COVID experience, this global pandemic, is telling us we're all in this together.
That's right. We are definitely being reminded of how similar, how united, how linked we are by being in this shared experience. It's something that we tend to forget at times when we're so busy in our individual swim lanes. When you take away those lanes and say, you all feel COVID-19, we go, oh, well, we're all in this together. How apropos for our talk title and for a reminder, a great time to pause and look at all of the ways that we can truly remember and experience in fullness our oneness.
Beautiful. And I went to this wisdom. Now, this is the NASA astronaut Ron Gehr from the International Space Station in 2008. In spite of overwhelming beauty of this scene, serious inequity exists on the apparent paradise we've been given. I couldn't help thinking of the nearly 1 billion people who don't have clean water to drink, the countless numbers that go to bed hungry every night, the social injustice, conflicts, and poverty that remain pervasive across our planet. Seeing Earth from this vantage point gave me a unique perspective, something I've come to call orbital perspective. Part of this is the realization that we are all traveling together on the planet. And that if we all looked at the world from this perspective, we would see that nothing is impossible. And I think that's particularly poignant in this global experience.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't know that we've ever had this experience of all experience the same thing at the same time.
Right.
And we are being called to shelter in place, not only for ourselves, but for the community.
Mm-hmm.
We're seeing that our thought, our belief, our love, and our support helps those who are the first responders, or how nations are approaching this process. It's revealing a lot of new knowledge to us because we've never experienced this before. And I truly believe nothing is impossible.
Mm-hmm. Well, in God, all things are possible, right?
That's right.
And I just want to, think about why this experience is so unique in reminding us or waking us up to our oneness. And it is, we've had tragedies, right? There's been earthquakes and tsunamis and floods and fires. I mean, around the world, the last United States huge event was 9/11. And while we had people around the globe that could empathize with us, just as we do when there's a tsunami or there's some tragic event in another country, we empathize, imagine what that feels like. But we are not having to really exercise the power of imagination because we all are experiencing this on some level as what it actually feels like. And though it's uncomfortable, it is, I think, going to prove a very valuable thread in the tapestry of humanity in that time when we all experienced the same thing at the same time as that tangible thing that proves to us, shows us, demonstrates for us our oneness. So Reverend Charles Lully said that every particle in the universe is indissolubly linked to every other particle in the universe. There is a unity or a oneness. If we interfere with that communication between the particles, we temporarily cut ourselves off from the very source of our existence. I don't know if anybody else experiences this, but sometimes I think I know better than God. This was pointed out to me as my growing edge when I first started seminary school. When I thought I'd done enough work and I was ready to dive in, and I took a little personality quiz, my EQ, SQ quiz, my emotional and spiritual intelligence. And my instructor said, "Yeah, you've got a lot of this on lockdown. Except you think sometimes you know better than God." And she gave me the visual of me driving down the road and God as my navigator and God saying, "Maggie, turn right." And I go, no, God, I know where I'm going and I know how to get there." Inevitably, I am cutting myself off from the inherent internal wisdom, the guiding light of what that still small voice, that God voice is, that is present within all of us. That is one unifying factor of the truth that we are all one, is we all have that still small voice. And we all, at times, try to interrupt it, circumvent that still small voice, thinking we might know a little bit better, or we're trying to control the outcome. And we temporarily get disconnected from that oneness. And the good thing is that it is temporary. We come right back around to it, because the truth is we can't function. We don't function without the presence of oneness within us.
It's really a paradox, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Because we cannot be separate from God. There's only unity and oneness in the entire universe. Everything is in oneness. There, just like that picture, there is no thing we know of that isn't on this planet. Mm-hmm. All one. And yet we can interfere with the flow when we hold on to something. It just blocks our vision of the truth. We are one. But that disconnect is the very thing that causes us pain, uncomfortability, mm-hmm. any sense of lack or doubt. It really is. We know that there's love and there's fear. And we know that love is eternal and always. And fear is just false evidence appearing real. But when we focus on that, it temporarily cuts off our knowing, mm-hmm. our remembering, our identifying with our truth.
Right.
And all we need is to choose again. I love Desmond Tutu's wisdom He says, God's dream is that you and I and all of us will realize that we are family, that we're made for togetherness, for goodness, for compassion. If there's only love, if there really is only oneness, if it's true, we're all in this together. Now, sometimes we don't get to choose who we're traveling with. In fact, most of the time we don't.
Fact.
But everyone is family. And what we have seen powerfully, we have images that are emblazoned on our heart, is us identifying with our togetherness is the only way that we can find a productive way of working through this crisis we're experiencing. Compassion, love, and knowing that we're together allows us to do what needs to be done. This is the courageous image of all the first responders. They're showing us this deep level of compassion, what the human spirit is capable of. I don't think we've even unmasked all that's possible. But truly, as we work together to the common good, to our common oneness, anything's possible.
That's true. And I like what you said, that we don't always get to choose who we travel with, and that we are all family. This brings up for me that if you're family, you're for me. We are one. So the things that come up for me, the circumstances or experiences in my life may not feel enjoyable. You might be reflecting back to me something that I really don't want to have to work on within myself. Or if there's something that I'm just not willing to look at, or a decision to make, or a brave step to take, if I'm sitting on that, you can rest assured that the people that are going to show up in my life, those that are going to be traveling along with me, are going to be equally as loving and as irritating. But the truth of the matter is that they are all for me. So in this experience with COVID-19, in our medical forces, look at all of those people who are just for us. They're just showing up. And then under our own roof, look at all those people that might be pointing out those things that are really irritating qualities within ourselves. But they are also for us. Because when I can look through the lens that no one is against me, no one is here to harm me, and everyone is for me just as I am for you, then I have a great opportunity to do that inner work right now and to show up as a more loving, self-reflective, self-aware, connected individual in that oneness. And in doing so, I can take responsibility for my part in showing up for you. And I think that's so beautiful.
Thank you.
And as Elder Black Elk says, the first piece, which is the most important, is that which comes within the soul of people when they realize their relationship with their oneness, with the universe and all its powers, and they realize at the center of the universe dwells the Great Spirit. And the center is really everywhere within each of us. So could you go back to the first slide? I want to repeat this. The first piece, P-E-A-C-E, but also P-I-E-C-E, which is the most important, is that which comes within the soul of people when they realize their relationship with oneness, with the universe and all its powers. I'm going to rest there. What a peaceful place we can come to within ourselves when we realize that we are not alone. when we get off of the I've got to do it myself, solve it myself, fix it myself, imagine it myself, the victim salute, as Martha Creek says, woe is me, I got to do it all alone. I'm suffering when I am in the selfhood of my existence. But what a peaceful place, what a peaceful existence, and what a peaceful peace of oneness we each have the opportunity to become when we stop the selfless or selfishness and realize that we are part of a village, part of a tribe, part of a community, and we are accepting of the good from others, accepting of help, accepting of charity, accepting of friendship, and accepting of love. And we get in a rub. I get in a rub sometimes where I feel like I know I got this. Remember my growing edge. I got this. And that causes strife and discontent and irritability within my existence. And then I can lay down my arms and take a deep breath and remember, come to the point that I am in an illusion or a delusion of being alone. That God, the oneness, is represented in every single face I see, every sound I hear, everything I touch. So it is virtually and literally impossible to be alone.
I love that, Maggie, and I love that perspective. And Black Elk, with that wisdom, that we really have this opportunity, no matter what we're experiencing, to come back to home is where we are. I have to tell on myself, because yesterday morning, I woke up and I was snarly. I was in a bad mood and just watch out! And I was just at home with Owen. And Owen noticed that there was a tiger in the room. It wasn't just a little kitten, it was a tiger. And I was just spitting nails. And I didn't even know what it was about. I was just woke up on the wrong side of the bed. So I did my half hour of meditation. And oh, thank God. And I mean, thank God. Because after I came out of the meditation, I had recognized that the distance between where I was when I got out of bed and where I could be, which was in a more loving space, was just an attitude adjustment. And so I forgave myself for feeling those feelings, and I chose love. I chose bliss. I mean, it felt a lot better to just be loving and blissful. And all of a sudden, I looked out the window, and it was a beautiful day. And everything was like, okay, and I was doing all right. It was just a shift. It was literally like I didn't like what was playing on that radio, and I just changed the station. And we can simply do that. Mm-hmm. I love that. Rumi. I love this poet, Persian poet. Says, goodbyes are only for those who love with their eyes, because those who love with heart and soul, there is no such thing as separation. Isn't it true that when we are in that place of feeling love and oneness, we don't have the perspective of we're just in our home in New Braunfels. We're on this planet, part of a collective humanity. And from that place, there's no separation. From that orbital perspective that the astronaut Garen had said gives us a perspective of unity, of resting in the truth of being. And then there's no separation, there's no goodbye, there's no release because there only is. And that really is what we're all in this together is about, is to identify with the love in our heart rather than just the limited view from what we can see. Because it's a much bigger perspective.
It is. And I love that Unity co-founder Charles Fillmore taught that the soul was eternal, is eternal. In knowing that and recognizing that, accepting that as truth, we also have a great influence over each other as being one piece of the oneness that we are, that God is. We have a great responsibility for our own attunement, managing our own house, keeping control over our own energetic vibration, keeping control over our thoughts, creating a positive reality, a peaceful reality, because it makes, I'm going to use your example. It could have made the day miserable for Gary and Owen yesterday, but by tending house, you created an external experience that was pleasant for Owen. We have that in our mighty forces to be able to impact on a ripple effect others. And right now we're not in physical, proximity of one another, but can't you feel it? Can you not feel how the level of consciousness is rising as we're all being allowed a moment to slow down? Maybe except for medical professionals. We're slowing down, we're breathing, we're resting, we're healing. And when we are able to do that for ourselves, we most definitely impact each other. So we have a really nice treat. Abraham Lincoln sharing this wisdom, and this was from the second inaugural address in 1865, where he said, "With malice toward none, and charity for all, with firmness in the right as God gives us to see the right, let us strive to finish the work we are in, to bind up the nation's wound, to care for him who shall not have borne the battle, and for his widow, and for his orphan, to do all which may achieve and cherish and just and lasting peace among ourselves and with all nations." Now, the context of this was the tail end of the Civil War, was it not? A huge pivotal moment between nations, and most certainly for the United States. And we are in that pivotal moment yet again. I was talking to the wise women in our virtual happy hour on Friday about this being an opportunity to be a new uniting experience for us. It's kind of what I was saying at the beginning of our talk today, is the tragedy that was 9/11 in the United States was a uniting experience. We were all in pain. We were all in shock. We were all in awe and wonder of this horrific event. But from 2001 to current day, these people had a shared experience. And they could remember that time. This is the new uniting experience, I believe. In everyone from 2020, when COVID landed in America or around the world, we are all in a uniting experience right now where we have to recognize where we are, the work that we're in the middle of, the wounds that we have the opportunity to heal. And how we do that is by caring for each other. Not looking out, not hoarding our toilet paper, people, but asking if you need some toilet paper, or if you need a meal, or a phone call, or a prayer. And that goes a really long way in recognizing this is a shared experience. We are experiencing it in oneness, and we can heal some past wounds that have been festering for a really long time in our nation. That is something to be grateful for in this.
It truly is. And what's also part of this is the unknown of the future. But if we do it together, we will be able to rebuild, to reassign where the resources are to be, to do and live beyond this time, because it won't be this way forever.
Right.
But everything's changed. Everything's changed because we have a new vision. Imagine what it was like when everyone knew and believed the world was flat. It's a huge change in the global perspective when the world is round.
Mm-hmm.
We have these human experiences that awaken us to a greater ideal. And I do believe, much as Abraham Lincoln on his second inaugural address stood knowing that as we move forward, compassion, love, and service is the way that we can navigate through whatever shows up. This is how we're going to survive this time, by doing this together, and how we will rebuild, what we'll rebuild, but together, all nations, all peoples, no matter what language, no matter what, there are no boundaries in COVID-19.
Amen.
Amen. And I love Braunfels. What a blessing he's been in the world. He says, if I go into the place in myself that is love, and you go into the place in yourself that is love, we are together in love. Then you and I are truly in love, the state of being love. That's the entrance of oneness. That's the space I entered when I met my guru. So this isn't new information. This is a practice of how do we join in. Our great rituals of how we come together and honor graduates, or a birthday, or a birth, or a marriage, or a retirement, any of these pivotal points, we do them together by celebrating in love. And when we come into that loving space, everything's possible.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's what God is. There, in that unconditional love, there is no lack. Everything's possible. So we can just leave fear at the door.
I just love love. And I invite you to imagine what our world would be like, what our existence would be like if we operated unconditionally from the place of being in love. And not just you, not just me, but if everyone we met was in that same place of being in love. Wouldn't that be beautiful?
It is beautiful.
It would just, if the grocery store clerk bagged my groceries in love, I'm just kidding.
But that's my experience.
Mm-hmm.
I go to the store and people are more present, more really concerned. Are you all right today? And that comes from the cashier, from fellow people who are shopping or in line. In that respect and honoring space, we are Unconditional love isn't going up and going, oh, just love how you look. It's not gooey love.
Mm-hmm.
It's acceptance.
Mm-hmm.
It's respect. It's trust.
Mm-hmm.
It's trusting that you are in your right place and God is supplying you with everything you need because that's the place I am. And this is just the place where we begin. Now we begin. So you may look at putting on that lens of unconditional love, relating to your family that way, relating to everything in your memory that way, relating to everyone in the news that way. And there's nothing, there is absolutely nothing that can't be healed with love. And that's a good place for us to be.
It is. I love this wisdom from Ernest Wilson, Reverend Ernest Wilson. He said, I am grateful for the loneliness which forced me to the truth that no one is alone, that we are all one, and he who finds no comradeship within can never find it without. I never thought I'd be grateful for being lonely. And I think we've all experienced that. If you haven't experienced it before the COVID-19 pandemic, I'm most certain that you've experienced on some level now. And this reminds me of the responsibility that we have when we are in that place of loneliness or in that place of feeling separate from or isolation of, that we have yet one thing, one call, one request, one prayer request, one ask. We need but just reach out our virtual hand right now. And there is in no short supply someone who's willing to meet us there. I am almost tired of being in connection some days because I have been so connected, so much more connected in this time than I was 6 weeks ago. And I feel like in reflecting back, that was isolation. That was loneliness. And I am most definitely not lonely right now. I'm really comfortable with my computer screen, but I'm not lonely. I have got someone on some time zone every single day of the week that I can reach out to for support, for a laughter, for a joke, for a recipe. And I wonder if that's a shared experience that we are having that we will now carry forward as a building block of the process of waking up as a collective to the oneness that we are not alone. We are truly in this together, always.
Thank you, Maggie. This is why I am so grateful for this opportunity, because I feel such deep connection with this community, with my family, with Maggie, and it's beautiful. And I do believe that when we, in hindsight, looking back at this, we'll appreciate and honor the connection. So let's take this. This talk actually was generated by this wonderful, simple writing from the Bhagavad Gita, which says it all. And we'll take this quote and go into meditation. They live in wisdom who see themselves in all and all in them. They live in wisdom who see themselves in all and all in them.
Be still, go deep, what you sow is what you reap. Be here now, where one is known, where life's fountain always flows. Be still, be still, be still, and know. Be still, be still, be still, and know. Om Gam Ganapatiye Namaha. Om Gam Ganapatiye Namaha. Om Gam Ganapatiye Namaha. Om. Be still. Be still. Be still. And know.
As you breathe, in and out, know that this is always a place we can come to be still and know. Knowing that we are just like that Christ light, brilliant, eternal, and blessed. There is no darkness when there's light. And yet we can identify our space by where there's more light and less light. But in meditation, we can open ourselves to the light. And therein be the light of the world. The light of the universe. The light of God expressing through us. Not making us God, but making us ever connected with the infinite light of love, of wisdom, of truth, of being. And what a graceful place to center in, to be here now. so for this moment, we're collectively sharing. Let's take just a moment now, reflecting on that light in the silence. As we have merged from this peace and this knowing, we can return to this space anytime we desire. For herein lies our beingness, our oneness, our safety net, and our awareness of the truth that passes all understanding. And so as we bring our awareness out of this meditation, let's honor it and bring from it whatever we want to use as we go into this day. Perhaps we have an attitude adjustment. Perhaps we're a little more relaxed, or have a sense that we're empowered to be a loving presence. Whatever it is, let's take that as we bring our awareness back into the space. We might wiggle our fingers or toes or roll our head. And when we open our eyes, let's affirm this by the affirmation that we have that goes with today's message. I feel togetherness in spirit with others. We are one in God. And so it is.
Step out on the water, release your faith. Every step is stronger. Step out on the water.